I want to talk about the right-wing intellectual trash fire and North America's most disingenuous quote-unquote thought leader, whose job is to gish gallop and sounds more like Kermit the Frog than I do. That's right, it's Jordan Peterson. Let's talk about him real quick. Jordan Peterson is a moral snake oil salesman. He is a man who uses thousands of words day over day, uses complex, weird, obscure references to all sorts of cultural nonsense in order to sound smart when he really has one foundational argument that requires no use of the word substrate, no use of any sort of deep philosophical argument. It's that morality is based on the Bible. Every single bit of ink he spills comes from an evangelical view of the Bible that he just obscures in this, miasma. I'm using big words myself now, Mr. Peterson. This miasma of pseudo-intellectual garble, right? He is a man who once probably had the care of his patients in mind, but over time got radicalized like any privileged white dude does in Canada and the United States. And it comes down to one problem. He's wrong. He's wrong about everything he says at a fundamental level because he does the one critical thing that every person who's wrong about morality does. They ignore the basics of human history. The big flaw in the argument is that he thinks that ethics belongs to religion, which presupposes a moral superiority of religion instead of the people who created that religion. Now, hear me out. His argument isn't that we have developed a tradition over time since prehistory in how we treat people and what that means. It's that the Bible, in its fundamental trueness, provides the only ethical framework that is required for a human being to exist. And existing outside of the ethical framework of the Bible means that you have no ethics, right? That you don't know how to act properly. And if you do act properly, despite not believing in the Bible, you secretly believe in the Bible. See, it's a mind trap. It's a way to play gotcha with philosophy. And this is intentional, right? His argument isn't just that morality exists within the Bible only or within the Judeo-Christian framework. It is also that it only exists within a group ethic, that individuality and movements like social justice movements pit groups against each other, and that's unhelpful for the future of society, as if tension somehow doesn't breed innovation. And he fundamentally ignores history in order, most every possible way, in order to attempt to reinforce a crappy premise that because we exist as a society, that society must coalesce around a single definition of what values are. Not a single set of values, but a single set of definitions, which are espoused by the Judeo-Christian framework, the Bible. Right? If you're a person acting positively in society, well, secretly you believe the Bible because the only way to have ethics is to believe in the Bible. And see how that's like a circular bit of reasoning there? And what it does, it's also a thought-stopping exercise because it requires you to cleave to this idea that there is only one way of thinking. And if you don't think that one way, you really do secretly think that one way because it's built into your brain somehow, as if you are unable to express your own thought processes and delve into your own psyche in a way that allows you to figure out what it is you actually believe, as if you're not a thinking individual, but only a mechanical part of a larger ethical framework. And while this alone would be generally kind of just ridiculous nonsense, right? Like, it is just religious nonsense. Given his credibility in the past as a famous psychologist who wrote a lot of books and was a caregiver and a professor, combined with his anti-LGBTQ and other social movement stances, he has become one of the most toxic people in the entirety of society. He has infected young men in this country with the belief that there is one form of normalcy, and being a part of that normalcy is the most socially virtuous thing you can do. That there is a single way of thinking that is okay, that there is a single way of acting that is okay, and deviations from that norm aren't just something to be tolerated, they're anti-society, they're anti-ethical, they're against the good working order of the Western world. And you see how that's dangerous, right? It's not just that you don't like a thing, it's that that thing is fundamentally poison to the world in which you live. It's that being gay is poison to the world in which you live, or trans, or whatever. That's what Jordan Peterson is selling in the end. He's selling the idea that if there's not social conformity, there is social destruction. And it all comes down to this extreme version of biblical morality, right? that is interpreted by him and others within that movement to create a specific kind of social conformity, because without that social conformity, the Western world collapses. Now, obviously, this is wrong on every possible level. Humanity existed in an ordered state long before Christianity existed. There were rules long before Christianity existed. There are cultures that fully developed without touching Christianity and have similar laws. Why? Because we as a human species and our fellow grade ape buddies all have similar ideas about what fairness is, what right and wrong is, and all of the other bits of like ethical, moral trappings, right? Now, obviously, they are the most hyper-specialized and focused in humanity, but if you look at any sort of sociological research, you know that this sort of ethical framework has existed forever. We had the Code of Hammurabi, and even before that, we know that people existed in societies where there was mutual aid and sharing, and in like the early days of humanity, even then, tribes cared for their most hurt people and nurtured them into old age. There's fossil record of it, right? So we know that these inherent good parts of society, these moral foundations, have existed long before any sort of Christian myth-making existed. And so using Christian myth-making as the foundation for your, I hate the word, epistemology, for your morality, right? It is saying that I must believe a thing because of a book, as opposed to I must believe a thing because of all of the evidence that came before it, right? The vast majority of human history has happened before the Bible was written. That means the vast majority, either we lived in this amoral Hobbesian man-eat-man death state before that, which is fundamentally incorrect by the archaeological record, or Jordan Peterson is wrong and morality exists innately in human beings. Yes, we're tribal, and that means we're protective and defensive and violent at each other, especially when we see people outside our tribe. That's part of that brain thinking where we need to defend our people, but it also means we care for the people inside what we consider that tribe. So you have to ask yourself, who is your tribe? Is it just the people who believe in the writings of a single book? Or is it everyone on this planet who is interconnected to you, who deserves their individual rights as much as they deserve a group set of rights, who deserve to live the life they want to live the way they choose to live, and to live that life consensually with other human beings, or to be shut in a box, where the light of humanity is meant to fade into a single point in the darkness? One definition of who we are. One definition of humanity, rather than the vast, amazing panoply of people we are today. I choose diversity, and I hope you will too. Cool? Cool.